Hey y'all, what's up, what's good? It's your girl Michaela Janae here, back with another video. I just did my nails, so I'm gonna be using a lot of my hands, but this is actually a refilm. That's why this video is kind of late for you guys. I already filmed this video, but my audio was kind of messed up, so I'm like, let me refilm this. Do not worry, you still will be getting your 2 videos this week. I just want to make sure that I give you guys everything that I read in the month of February. This reading month was very interesting because not until the end of the month did I find a lot of books that I wanted to read. So March's book wrap up will definitely be better than this one, but I was like, let me just go ahead and still share with you guys what I read in February because I did read some gems, just March is going to be better. Okay, so let's talk about it. The first book that I read in February was by Liz Johnson, and it was A Dazzle of Diamonds. I'm gonna be reading the synopsis for all these, and then I'm going to give you guys my little score. This book says, best friends Penelope and Tucker have faced their share of challenges, but finding a lost treasure in time to clear his family's name and win him an election may uncover something they never expected. Okay, I didn't finish this book, let me just say that. This book was a DNF. I got a few chapters in. I couldn't get attached to the story. Even the synopsis was kind of vague. It didn't give you any inclination to what's going to happen in this story, or like who's the romance going to be in between. And it is classified as a romance, and it's also Christian fiction. You guys know that I love Liz Johnson. I actually have another Liz Johnson in this wrap up that her book was really good, but this one I just wasn't understanding. I don't know if this book is a part of a series and maybe I just couldn't get with it, or I needed to know these characters' backgrounds a little bit more. But to me, in the beginning of the book, she didn't establish well who was going to get together or what was going to happen. So basically, the girl Penelope works at like a bridal venue in the town of Charleston, and for some reason I read a lot of books centered around like Charleston and North Carolina, South Carolina, and she's working at this venue, and one day her ex-fiance comes in with his new fiance and they want to rent out the venue, which, okay, starting off with a little drama, but it's like you kind of don't know their backstory. I don't know if I was supposed to know their backstory, so I was already a little confused. And then she basically allows them, her fiance and his new fiance, to assume that her and her friend Tucker are dating, and Tucker is running for some type of office, but he doesn't really want to run for the office. But somebody in the town is spreading rumors about him, saying that his family long ago was doing some shady dealings and they were working against the town of Charleston or wherever they were. And then they started to want to kind of like recant that and prove that his family was innocent, and it just was not interesting to me. I wasn't getting it. I could tell that Tucker and Penelope was of course supposed to be the love interest once I got a little bit deeper into the chapters, but I still wasn't feeling it or understanding it. I feel like she didn't explain the story good enough. We were just kind of thrown into it in the beginning. So that's why I DNF'd this book. I might go back at it. I really might. But things are a little iffy right now with my Libby app because my local library is no longer using Libby. So it's going to kind of be hard for me to go back on the books that I DNF'd because my back catalog is getting deleted, which is so heart-wrenching to me. I wish my library would just stay with one app. This is their 3rd app that they've used. Yes, I'm going on a little rant tangent because I love my books, and every time that my library switches apps, I'm losing my back catalog, and I love to go back and see which authors are my favorite. So yeah, I just had to get all that out. I might come back to this book because I might just have to skip through a little bit and then it'll get better. So that was the first book, and I started off actually with the worst book because like I said, I DNF'd it. I'm actually going like worst to best. So my next book that is like one step from a DNF, I finished it but I wasn't in love with it, is Until I Found You by Victoria Byland. The synopsis says, when Kate, Darby's only living family member, suffers a stroke, Kate takes leave from her career to take care for her. In the process, she meets her very own knight in shining armor. Too bad she doesn't believe in happily ever after. At least she didn't until she met Nick. So like I said, synopsis was a little vague. Of course, again, this was actually an author I've never read before, but this was another classified Christian fiction romance. Kate is basically an orphan. Her father died and then her mother died not too long after, and her grandmother recently had a stroke, so she had to go back to her town in California and help her grandmother. She meets this guy who was working at her grandmother's newspaper, and he's a pretty famous kind of author. He's a Christian. He's supposed to not be dating anybody during his first year of being a Christian, but then he meets her and they fall in love pretty quickly. There's some birds in the book, some condors, and she is really conflicted about her faith. She's conflicted about her job, where she should be working, whether or not she should stay with her grandmother, which all of that is fine and dandy. And my issues with this book was that this one kind of throwed you in too much too fast. Okay, I feel like there was a lot going on. It starts off with the grandmother's point of view, which I understand why the grandmother had a POV, certain flashbacks from the grandmother, and the storytelling was a little, I don't know, I didn't really care for her point of view too much, but I didn't really care for anyone but Nick's point of view, actually, because I feel like he was the most grounded, level-headed person in the book. Well, the grandmother knew what she wanted to. I liked the grandmother's character. I guess I just didn't like Kate's character. Okay, so basically it starts off with the stroke, and then when Kate is on her way to the grandmother's house, she gets in a car accident almost the exact same way that her father gets in a car accident, and then Nick saves her. Well, that was like the second big event in the book, and then it happened very early on. So I was like, okay. And then as the book goes on, other big incidents happen. Like, I feel like a lot of incidents happen. There were many crises in the book. I feel like the storytelling was a little off for me. Nick and Kate fell in love really quickly, and I don't like an insta love type of book. When it came to the faith aspect, when Kate decided she wants to be a Christian because Nick was a Christian, at first I thought it was ingenuous. Like, I didn't necessarily believe her. It wasn't giving genuine. I feel like she was very confused, even down to where she wanted to work, what she wanted out of life. It just wasn't very believable to me. Basically, she wasn't a believable main character. Now, to someone else, you may like it, but like I said, I've been reading for a long time and I have read a bunch of romance books, and I just know what I like and I don't like at this point. And this one I was not vibing with. They fell in love too quick. I wasn't convinced that they were a good match. Basically, like, he was head over heels for her, and I didn't understand why. I feel like I wasn't convinced why he was that deeply in love with her. I didn't get it. And to me, like I said, she even became, even when her faith went kind of fast without her really getting a gist of what it meant to give her life to Christ. I felt like she was almost just doing it for Nick. So that's why I would honestly give this book like a 3 out of 5, maybe even a 2.5 out of 5. It was not my favorite romance. So next, another little step up is Memory Lane by Becky Wade. If you watched my January wrap up, then you guys know that I just discovered Becky Wade and I love her. She's a Christian romance author, and Memory Lane is her book 1 in her new series. She actually just came out with book 2, but I don't know if I'm gonna read book 2. I've been seeing a lot of mixed reviews, and after reading book 1, I believe what the reviewers are saying, and I'm not the type of person that has to figure it out for myself. If a lot of people are not liking it, I don't really know if I'm going to love it, okay? But this book was really good. I enjoyed it. It's not my top book of the month, and I'm going to tell you why. So here's the synopsis. After surviving a trauma several years back, Remy Reed relocated to a cottage on one of Maine's most remote islands. She's arranged her life just the way that she wants it, spending her time working on her wood sculptures and soaking in the beauty of nature. It's quiet and solitary until the day she spots something bobbing in the ocean. Her binoculars reveal the something to be a man, and he's struggling to keep his head above water. She races out to save him and brings him into her home. He's injured, which doesn't detract from his handsomeness nor make him easier to bear. He acts like a duke who's misplaced his dukedom. Expensive taste, lazy charm, bossy ideas. Now that is how you write a synopsis. She gave a good backstory. You know what you're hopping into. You know who's supposed to be the two love interests. I love that, okay? Like she said, the girl, Remy, was going through a lot, and in the beginning of the story you don't really know what she's going through. You just know that she's chosen solidarity and she's chosen to be closed off, and she loves being closed off. But then this man comes in and disrupts her peace, and he has amnesia, so she's trying to like bring him back to his life. She thinks he has a wife, so she's trying to reunite this family that she's made up in her head. And my favorite part of the book was when he had amnesia. That's hilarious to say, but the build up of their relationship was beautiful. I loved it. I loved the suspense of not knowing if or when he was going to get his memory back. I loved when they were on the journey to figuring out his life, but then when it came to him figuring out who he was, which that's fine, you're rich, you know, even better. It was the family. Sometimes when it comes to two people in a romance, other people's point of views get a little misty for me. It becomes a little much for me. His mother having a point of view, and then she has a major story and a major juicy past when it comes to her and his father, which was so crazy. Like, to me, the mama needed her own book. So to include her in his story was a bit much because she needed her own book. I understand why the brother had a point of view because he is the main character in her second book in this series. So that's understandable. He didn't get too much talking time when it came to chapters, but the mom got a few little sections where it was just her point of view. She didn't even have to be included in this one. I understand she's trying to build a world. The mama needs her own book for sure, and I feel like she will get her own book. The way that Becky Wade laid out her story and made us invested, because I'm definitely invested in the mom's story, I would read her book. It was just a little bit too much involved in this book. And also when it came to other people's point of view, which this person didn't get a point of view, Remy's ex-neighbor, the old man that she was trying to help him find his long lost love, I just feel like that was a little bit of an unnecessary story. But I like when each character has things going on in their own life, and I feel like Becky Wade did that really well. Each character had a lot going on in their own life. I love that it wasn't insta love. Like, Remy had to really be convinced that she could trust this guy and that their relationship would work, because in her past she did not have a history with guys, and for good reason. She did not feel safe around them. She didn't know if she can trust guys. So I like how slow he went with her. I love these two main characters. They were amazing. That's why I give this book a 4 out of 5 stars. It was really good. I loved how long it was. I was invested in this world, and then she just has the drama in this book. Like I said, Becky Wade does world building well, and she gets you invested. Okay, she always has a lot going on. You're never gonna guess the plot twist, and you're never gonna guess who's the real villain in these stories, because I know I was shook. But this book was really good. I loved it. I was confused. It was a quick read for me because I was really trying to figure out what was going on. Alright y'all, so real quick, tell me why I forgot about a whole book. And this book is my top fiction romance read of the month. This is the second Liz Johnson book that I read in the month of February, and it is Summer in the Spotlight. The synopsis says, after a devastating hurricane on Prince Edward Island, Kelsey sets out to save her beloved community theater and her job. As she draws her friend Levi Ross into her plans for a benefit show, she discovers there's more to him than she expected, and that God's plans for their future are so much more important than the struggles of their past. Now first, let me tell you, I resonated so much with this book because of course I live in Louisiana, and Louisiana is hurricane central. We deal with a lot of hurricanes. So first and foremost, I understood that. I understood having to rebuild from the bottom up. So that was very understandable. This book, I think it's book 3 in like the Ross Brothers series, which I loved every single book in this series. And this one is just the perfect icing on the cake because it featured one of the Ross brothers that I was most interested in, which is Levi. Levi does not talk a lot. He was real quiet and to himself, and throughout the other books you really want to learn why, and in this book we finally figure out why he doesn't talk, why he's that quiet. It was very interesting to me, and Kelsey is just so lovable. Her issue or her problem wasn't that big. She had a problem with blood, and it caused her to miss out on some really important moments in her grandmother's life, and that was really hard for her. But I love that nothing was like too high of stakes. It was a real nice read. It was a pleasant time, and I definitely give it a 5 out of 5 because their chemistry was so beautiful. Their relationship was so beautiful. From the beginning, certain things were a little bit predictable about what was going to happen regarding the play, but so much of it was still a mystery. So this book did amazing when it came to world building and keeping you intrigued. It was a super quick read for me because I was really just trying to get through it to see what happens because I was just so invested. Like, I needed to know what was going to happen between Kelsey and Levi and just see how everything comes into fruition. I love seeing Levi get out of his comfort zone, and I wanted to see how Kelsey was really going to prevail when it came to getting the Playhouse back together. Liz Johnson really does make you love this little community of Prince Edward Island and the people who come through there. She makes you love each and every character that is involved in the books, and she just does such a good job world building and making you fall in love with each and every person, even down to the neighbors, down to the mother, which the mother needs her own book for sure. I hope she does get a book because she's pretty interesting in herself. You know, how the dad comes back into their life and he's been gone for years, like so crazy. But this book is definitely my highest rated fiction book. It was so good. I definitely recommend this book to you guys. If you are to pick up any romance book out of this, definitely read Summer in the Spotlight because you will not regret it. The next book I have for you guys is actually non-fiction, and it is Damaged But Not Destroyed by my personal pastor, Michael Todd. Okay, he does have a church in Tulsa, Oklahoma. No, I have never been, but I watch his church every Sunday. I consider him my pastor. I consider that's my church. I have tried to read all of his books, and I say try because me and nonfiction, it takes a while for me to really hop into it, and by the time that I really hop into it, it's time for me to return the book back to the library. So one thing I want to do is buy his Crazy Faith book so I can read it slowly over time. But this book right here, I had it on hold for a long time, and once it finally came up to me, I was like, I'm going to finish it. And I love that it was not super long. It was like maybe 280, 250 pages, which is perfect. But in this book, he really goes in depth, speaking from his own experiences, speaking from his knowledge of what God has shown him about how to identify your damage, how to deal with and heal from your damage, some damage that you caused to yourself and some damage that just happened to you and that it was out of your control. While I don't feel that I need what was in this book at this time, I feel like from this book I learned tools that I can take with me in life. I'm still young. I don't know everything that's going to happen. Even if you don't feel like you have damage necessarily, it's so important to read this book because nobody's life is perfect. Things will come up, and just to have these tools and have this knowledge of what you should be doing whenever these things come up, how to be humble, how to surrender to God and know that you don't have to define yourself by what happens to you or who you used to be. You can become something new and that you can heal from past hurt. It was just mind-blowing knowledge. I love how real and honest he is. As always, it translates from his sermons into this book. I love this book. The next book I want to finish is Crazy Faith. Like I said, I started Relationship Goals, I started Crazy Faith, I didn't finish them. I finished this one and it was honestly a 5 out of 5. I loved it. It was amazing. I learned a lot from it, and I learned a lot about his story, just getting a deeper insight of who he is and what he's been through, and it just equipped me with some knowledge on how to deal with the things that the devil may throw at me, or just situations that even I've put myself in the past. But I hope you all enjoyed my February wrap up. February was a really good month. I made sure that I read something by a Black author because it was Black History Month. But now we are in March. We are in Women's History Month. So I'm going to be reading all the girly books, all the romance. And I just cannot wait to share with you guys what I am reading in March. It's only March 5th. And I am like 3 books in. Okay, I have been reading. So I'm so excited to share that with you guys at the end of this month. This month is going to be jam-packed. I'm going on vacation, a lot's going on. So I hope you guys are tuned in. We're doing 2 videos a week. I'm so excited. I hope you're subscribed. I hope you have your post notification bells on. We're going to be doing some crochet. We're going to be doing some sewing. We are going to be doing a whole lot of hair. I have some products to review for you guys, so I hope you're excited and ready for that. I'll see you guys in my next upload. I hope you all have a blessed day.